God is moving. It's Young People Nation.
Welcome to Young People Nation. Listen to us weekly as we commit to bring transparency, healing, and truth to the everyday situations in life that might bring you down. Join us for your weekly dose of inspiration. Thank you for listening to Young People Nation. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And now, here's your host, Eugene and Donna Perry.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross.
Well, welcome back to Young People Nation. We're in our fourth session on rage and talking about anger as well. And we're going to be talking about different things on different types of therapy and counseling. But we want to address also the different tips to teach our kids about anger management. So we're back with Dr. Rosetta Parker Alston. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again. And she needs no introduction because she's family.
All right. Hey.
So let's talk about the general tips to teach kids about anger management.
Actually, these tips are not just for kids, but they're for adults who didn't learn the skills as children as well.
Very good.
First thing we do is introduce the feelings long before, especially with the child, help them to identify their feelings as they're growing up. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we become adults who have never been taught those skills the same. Mm-hmm. And so if we learn how to introduce feelings, and so as a child, they're like, say they start throwing things down, and you be like, okay, little Sally, little Johnny, what you're feeling, is this anger? Are you angry? Mm-hmm. Is this why you're doing what you're doing? Mm-hmm. An adult who was never taught those skills, when you are throwing things around as an adult, is this anger that you're feeling? What's going on? Is this frustration? Why are you acting the way you're acting? Mm-hmm. So let's start introducing feelings. Okay. And then help people label their emotions. Because have you ever talked to somebody and you ask them to say, hey, what's going on with you? I can't explain it. I don't know what it is. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I just know something's happening.
Yes.
Well, same thing with our children. If we label emotions early, we teach people how to label, this is a happy emotion, this is a sad emotion, this is an anger emotion, this is a hurt emotion. And so just like we would teach children, we could teach adults who never learned that, because sometimes anger comes for and somebody's been hurt, but it looks like they're angry. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's identify, are you angry or are you upset about what happened?
Yes.
And then are you hurt by what happened? And so let's identify those things. And then let's be a good listener. Remember I talked about the pupil?
Yes,
how the pupils
right.
are lie detector?
That's big.
So let's make eye contact either with our children and adults. Make eye contact when we talk to people and begin to be good listeners. Don't listen to say, oh, okay, I heard they say that. This, and then you're developing a plan and developing an answer for what they're sharing. That's not listening.
Correct.
Listening is hearing what they say and then being able to repeat back to them what they said.
Yes.
Somebody said, well, I'm just sick of them. So I'm done. I'm fed up. It's like, okay, so what I heard you say is that you're frustrated, you're done, and you're fed up. Why? Mm-hmm. And so repeat back to them what they said. Because then that takes you out of the mode of coming up with a plan and a response to the answer. Whereas now you've got to listen to what they say so you can repeat back to the person or the child what was been said. And then set a good example. I say some people will never read a book, but they will look at a book.
Yes.
So be the example.
Yes.
All right.
That's big. And I like that part. I came up with listening to understand and not to respond.
Exactly.
You understand? And so that is key. And I like that part that you repeat back what you believe you heard them say.
Mm-hmm.
And they can correct you because it's all about perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be like, oh, okay, but you're still putting it back in their hand to come up with a solution and deal with their own emotions. Is that correct?
That's correct. And one of the things we could do is, let's think about a husband and wife. Like, you never pick your stuff off the floor. And I don't know why you can't pick your stuff off the floor.
Oh,
Okay,
that's me
what that
right there.
does is put the person on the attack, on the defense mode. When we use use statements come across as attacking. So instead of saying you never or you should or you do this, let's say, dear. You can say whatever you want to, whatever title you want to use. I would like to talk about the fact that the clothes are on the floor. It makes me upset when there are clothes on the floor. Is there something we could do to help us both keep the clothes off the floor? Which comes across a lot better than you always leave it on the floor and why you can't pick up your stuff. So let's come off the you statements and I feel, I think, I thought if we use I statements, and then I also take the sting out of it for us, because now we got to think about, okay, how am I going to phrase this when I really want to say, you working my last nerve. Instead of saying, you working my last nerve, I feel like you're really stressing me out.
Yes, yes.
And I need you to help me. And so when we take ownership of it, we take the attack out.
Yes, yes, that's good, because that's something I learned in my marriage, is that coming at him was not going to resolve nothing. And so the leaving the socks on the floor.
Okay, I'm guilty.
But yeah,
I'm guilty.
my mom was old school. She said, well, would you rather pick up his sock or another woman pantyhose shoes? And that's what she told me. I said, well, okay, I'd rather pick up his sock. And she was like, but I like your approach much better, because I don't fuss like I used to, do I?
No, you don't, Sheriff.
Yeah, and we got to realize when we're fussing, we're not heard.
Right. They just keep it moving.
And that's also another key for men, giving you a nugget. If a woman's always fussing, that means that she does not feel safe and she's not feeling heard. That's a good way to know when a woman's, your wife, is going through some challenges, if she's always fussing.
Yes.
She's not asking you to fix it.
Just listen. Yes, yes. This is not a fix-it moment, because we've adapted that in our marriage. I tell him, I say, I'm not asking you to fix this. I just need you to listen.
Yes, dear.
Okay? And we go from there. Let's see. Well, what's the different types of therapy and counseling?
Okay. One of the things we mentioned earlier is medication.
Yes.
And I'm not saying I'm a proponent of medication, but I'm not against it either. Sometimes you need a prescription to balance things out. Like I said, you wouldn't tell a diabetic not to take insulin.
Correct.
You would not tell a person who has a headache not to take a Tylenol.
Is there a danger in that? If they keep taking the medication, they could get addicted to it?
Well, see, it depends on the medication, and that's why it is so important to get with a mental health clinician and your doctor. They should both be talking, because your doctor knows things about you that your mental health person may not know.
I'm glad you said it, because you shouldn't be borrowing medication from somebody else.
Exactly. Oh my God. Because in some cultures, we take each other's medication. So just because a person may be diagnosed with it, you might have an underlying medical condition that medication is not going to work for you or cause more problems than help. So in terms of medication, make sure you have your mental health person and your doctor are talking. And that will require some paperwork, but it's worth it to make sure that they're treating you holistically versus I'm treating this part, you're treating that part. And we do the patient and or the client a disservice when we do that.
Yeah, the reason I said it because me and my father got the same name. So if he medication and all, I could went pick his medication up because we had the same name on the ID card and everything, and that could have been a problem. And with that, in many instances, in many families, it is.
And that's the other thing. When you get your medication, make sure it's the right medication. We just assume that it's always going to be the right prescription. On some of the medication bottles, they have a description of what your pill looks like. And so if you get a pill and it looks different than what you're used to,
right,
pay attention and ask the pharmacy, hey, I'm used to a blue pill. What's this pink one?
Exactly.
Don't just say, oh, well, it is, that gave it to me. You have to be your own best advocate.
Yes. Yes.
And so sometimes antidepressants and anxiety medications may be there. Some people they're opposed to medication, so they will use herbal supplements.
Right.
Even if you're using herbal supplements, still talk to your doctor, because some herbal supplements, depending on what your medical condition is, could be counterproductive as well.
Absolutely.
So don't just say, I'm not going to get medication because I don't want to get hooked, because you don't have to be on some medications forever. Some you may have to be on them forever. But the key thing is talk to your physician.
Right.
Yes.
And make sure, especially parents, get accommodations at school. If your child is taking medication, talk to the social worker, the principal, the teacher, whatever. Make sure that they know that your child is on medication.
Right.
Because some children, when they look at pills, they may be like, oh, that's a pretty red one. And so then they're going to go and share with, hey, look, it's a red pill. And they're like popping pills and sharing pills.
Right.
Which is a problem in the school. Sometimes kids take their medication to school and share it with other kids. You have to talk to your children. And so pay attention to that. Make sure that the school's aware that your child's on medication. Do not allow your child to self-medicate while at school. Talk to the nurse. Get the nurse on board as well. Anger management classes, children can get in them, adults can get in them.
Yes.
Take the anger management class. If you're in a class you don't like the group, find another group. Don't just stop, not go.
Well, you could say the parent's responsibility is to keep track of how many pills your kid is taking a day by counting them.
Oh, that's a good point.
The key is to be present. Like I've always heard both our daughters talk about how their dad would come in his uniform. Amber would benefit from him coming up there volunteering in elementary school, and
she get all my money for ice cream.
but he was a present father, and so and it seems like a lot of times when you have to get a community, even if you're a single father or a single mother. You know, sometimes that godparent, like for you, you're an awesome godparent. I'm like, wow. You know, I see you taking them on trips. You really embrace your assignment as a godparent.
I'm on your turn.
And so it's important for the community to be so present. And not be so, you're talking about them, you know, like they bad. There's this and that and the third. But if you see someone or a young person or an adult, you know, that you just stand back and watch, because you got to see if that's your assignment or not, you know.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, you got to make sure that's your assignment, because every situation is not your assignment.
Exactly.
However, if you do have the opportunity and it's your responsibility, you have that green light from God, you know, you don't never know how you're going to impact that person's decision.
Exactly. I say if you got time to label and criticize, you got time to help.
Well, you know, God fixes so none of us can talk about nobody, because if you shine that light on what's really going on within all of us, what?
Exactly. I loved, that's one of the things, because we don't have any, well, I'm married, but I have stepchildren, but we don't have any children in the home, so that's why we're active in the godchildren's life. And I'm like that with my nephews and my nieces.
Yes.
They know when from childhood, Aunt Rose would show up in the back of the classroom. They'd be like, Sean, Aunt Rose is here. I'm like, you know, so we have to be engaged as a community.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a mom or dad that's always in school. You got an aunt, an uncle, you know, because one of my goddaughters have an Uncle Chris who's amazing. And so it's just a matter of all of us getting involved and remembering that, like my children, like my nephews say, oh, she's not our aunt, we're her boys.
Yes. Yes.
And so they're ours.
Yes. That's awesome that he recognized that from a place of he see your heart towards them, that your mama.
Yeah.
I thought I still had a room there.
That's like
I've
our
been kicked
daughters
out.
identify with my sister. That's she's not just our aunt, but she's mama because she's present.
Yes, and
That's powerful.
Let's be present, and there's social skills classes that we could get our adults in or our children in. Some people didn't learn soft skills when they were as they're growing up. Some of our children don't have soft skill.
Yes.
There's a clinician, one of my associates, Consuela, and that's what she does. She teaches soft skills. And so there's classes for that as well. And let's put anger management in check.
Yes.
Let's do some visualizations, visualizing exercises. Let's develop new pathways and new behaviors in response to anger. And let's not try to slap, you know, like you ever had a kitchen fire and the people want to put water in a kitchen fire. It's like, no, that's all you're going to do is add fuel to the fire.
Right.
You put baking soda on it to knock that out.
Yeah.
And so let's, make sure we're using the right tools when we're trying to de-escalate situations.
That's good.
So how would you deal with once you do that and you got those kids like that? You ever have an instance where you actually accumulate extra kids?
Yes.
Other kids in the neighborhood won't be part of that.
Yeah, especially in the store when in a particular store, the child was screaming, mom and dad is just walking off. It's like, do you mind if I say something to your child? Because you want to make sure you get permission first.
Right.
And so just ask the child a question.
Yes.
At first, the child is just screaming, and then I ask the question again, because rather than getting louder, you get softer, so they have to hear. And so I asked the question even softer. She was still screaming, so I asked the question even softer. And then she's looking to try to hear what I'm saying. And so then we were able to talk and help her stop screaming and realizing that what she wanted was going to happen, and so she was screaming. And then it helped take the sting out for mom and dad.
That's good.
You know, because her little face, it stopped being beet red, and, her little blue eyes began to sparkle. And we just had a good conversation.
Now that's beautiful.
So rather than being critical of parents, let's, sometimes, like you said, if it's your assignment, let's help.
Yes. One thing, like I was sharing in our previous session, I do like how Nina talks with Peyton when Peyton has a situation, and I really admire that. Say, okay, buddy, we're not going to do that, and such, and let's understand. And I just stand back in amazement. I'd be like, okay, because I didn't do that with y'all.
No.
So, but it goes with where the Word of God talks about a soft answer turns away wrath, rage, anger. So if I like how you communicated with the child, and the child's like, oh, I'm not going to get that. Okay, well, let me stop this screaming because it ain't working.
You got to watch Peyton because he's calculating now. He'll be done put that chair up there and guide himself.
That's where you keep an eye and you be present. You can't keep. So, are some of these behaviors inherited?
If you have a family history of mental illness, that doesn't mean everybody's going to have a family history of mental illness, but it's something to pay attention to. And some behaviors are not just inherited, they're learned. So we have to learn the difference between what's genetic and what's learned.
Wow, that's tough.
Okay, so what's your final advice, Dr. Austin, on anger and rage?
Get help. Don't be ashamed. If you need help, ask for help.
Amen.
Because we all need help at one point of time.
You better say it more often than we want to talk about it.
Hey, that'll preach.
Yeah, because sometimes our pride could be our own undoing.
And we know what happens when pride comes. Yes, yes.
Yeah, but it's a short fall though. And it's not a long fall. Oh yeah. That's why I got announced. I mean.
Well, this has been an amazing session on anger. First was our previous sessions and rage here. And so we hope parents were able to absorb and get information. If you would like counseling information for Dr. Austin, please reach out to us through Young People Nation, through our social media. She is a licensed professional counselor. Also, if you have an emergency, you have the 988 hotline. It's not just for suicide, it's for any mental situations, 24/7. We also have the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That's 800-273-TALK. That's 800-273-8255. Okay, Mr. Perry.
Hey, as usual, take time out to find out about whether you're living your life or you just existing. This has been Young People Nation. Remember, there is always hope.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross. He the #1 prospect. He the top boss. I was broke, I was empty. He the one that paid the cost. Really thought that I was cool. There was nothing like the Savior. Now it's time for the truth. The whole world been waiting. It's Young People Nation. 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 The whole world been waiting. Whatever you going through, I know what he gonna do. Don't matter the circumstance, we going back to the root. Keep going, keep going. Let that seed keep growing. You need peace and we know it. Now it's time to live holy. Young People Nation. You know what time it is. Young People Nation. Get ready, the time is here. Get ready, we vibing here. We about to let God in here. Young People Nation. It's Young People Nation. Yeah, do it for the heavens, you know where we going. Influenced by his love, you know we gotta show it. It's time to put the youth on to what God is doing. Cause I can tell you now, right now, that God is moving. It's Young People Nation.